For the first time since 2005, the second round of the NBA playoffs does not feature Stephen Curry, LeBron James, or Kevin Durant. The era that many of us grew up watching and made us fall in love with the game in the first place is fading away and being replaced by a newer and younger generation of stars right in front of our eyes. While in the Eastern Conference playoffs, the Pacers triumphed over the former NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, and the Knicks overcame Embiid's 76ers, setting the stage for two promising young teams to face off against each other. However, I already know the outcome of this series, so let me show you. Jalen Brunson just averaged 35 points per game against the 76ers, the 7th most for any player in a series of at least 6 games in the last 25 years. What makes this even more unbelievable is the fact that Brunson wasn't able to score more than 25 points until game 3. The Sixers appeared to have no answer for him all series long, as they tried to slow him down with length, guarding him with Batum and Oubre, which worked in game 1 and 2, but once Brunson began to use his speed to create space, the series was virtually over. After putting up 39 points in a game 3 loss, Brunson caught fire, dropping at least 40 points in the final 3 games of the series, putting the Sixers away in 6 games. Game 4 was by far his most impressive performance, demoralizing Philadelphia in front of their home crowd, dropping 47 points with 10 assists on an effective 52% shooting to take a 3-1 lead in the series. Although the Knicks had their minor issues, choking away game 5 to Tyrese Maxey, they also had their moments with the game 2 victory that was seemingly implausible. The Knicks played as a unit over these 6 games and had great contributions from Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, who both played great defense and made timely baskets. These traits will be vital if they want to contain the Indiana Pacers' fast-paced offense, but we'll get to that later. Moving to the Indiana versus Milwaukee series, the Pacers were shocked by a Bucks onslaught in game 1, but quickly recovered, winning 3 straight games to gain a 3-1 lead of their own. For the Pacers, it was the opposite story on offense, as every game was a team contribution apart from maybe games 1 and 2, which was dominated by Pascal Siakam. Game 1 was a great individual performance from Siakam, putting up 36 points on 60% shooting, while also pulling down 13 rebounds, but it came in a loss. The Pacers, newcomers to the playoffs, seemed visibly taken back by the heightened intensity of postseason play. This was evident when you look at the stat sheet for game 1, as Siakam was the only player to attempt at least 10 shots, while shooting over 40% from the field. Then in game 2, the Pacers settled and had an all-round great performance, as Halliburton gave them 12 points and 12 assists, while Miles Turner gave them one of the best games of his career, putting up 22 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 blocks on 60% shooting, while Siakam led from the front again, improving upon his game 1 performance with 37 points on 70% shooting from the field. With the series tied, Indiana were back in their own building, but Milwaukee appeared to be ready to snatch the victory, as Chris Middleton had a legacy game, dropping 45 points, including 2 miracle shots, one to force overtime. However, once in overtime, a horrific possession would unfold, as the Bucks ended up playing defense for nearly 2 minutes straight, as the Pacers pulled down 6 offensive rebounds, which would then lead to a Halliburton game winner to take a 2-1 lead in the series, and they would never give it back, dominating game 4 and eventually closing it out in 6 games. But will a lack of a defensive game be an issue moving forward for the Pacers? Let's find out. Indiana will be a test for any team's defense, but less so for the Knicks, and I'll show you why. First, Tyrese Halliburton has not been the same player since the hamstring injury, which he suffered around the All-Star break. Not allowing him to score inside or shoot threes as well, lacking the lift he would usually get. But luckily for Indiana, their bench has been dominant. As led by TJ McConnell, the Pacers' second unit is relentless, playing even faster than the starters do. And to make matters worse for opposing defenses, he's a good mid-range shooter and a savvy playmaker, kicking it out to the open shooter if a double team presents itself. Because of his ability to get open looks for the rest of the second unit, he forces the opponent to either play their starters longer or require more from their bench units, and this will usually end up in the Pacers dominating the opponent's bench. For the Knicks, they have solid one-on-one defenders such as Josh Hart and OG Anunoby, who can and will pick up Halliburton and Siakam, forcing them into tougher looks than what they were getting against the Bucks. Pascal Siakam especially is going to struggle in this series, as his former teammate on the Raptors, OG Anunoby, is a perfect coverage for him. Halliburton is still knocking down threes and making elite level passes, but he isn't nearly as deadly as he was earlier in the season. Still though, the Knicks will have to send Hart to try and force him to pick up his dribble earlier, forcing somebody else to create the offense, which will be an issue for the Pacers if Hart is successful. Outside of Halliburton and McConnell, Indiana really don't have anybody else capable of creating offense off the dribble for themselves or for others, which will be a weapon that the Knicks will look to exploit. But when we look at the Knicks' offensive problems, they have the same issues but multiplied. Outside of Brunson, there is absolutely nobody who can create offense off the dribble, allowing the Pacers to play their aggressive trapping style defense, picking him up full court. Although the Pacers' defense isn't good, they have been successful at times times, trapping the ball handler and just generally making him frustrated. Miles Turner is a crucial piece to the puzzle for the Pacers on offense and defense, as he can shoot the ball from 3 or drive to the basket, along with being one of the game's best shot blockers. A main focus for the Knicks defense will be stopping Indiana's transition game, as if you allow them to get out and run and push the pace, the game might as well be over. Even off makes, the Pacers are pushing the tempo and getting up the court in a hurry. But it isn't just getting up the court quickly, it's also the amount of actions they run, as on offense they're setting screens, sharing the ball, and consistently passing up good shots for great shots. This Indiana offense plays at a frenetic pace, playing very little isolation ball, relying on teamwork to score. This kind of offense is extremely hard to guard consistently, so the Knicks are going to have their work cut out for them. But where the Knicks do have an advantage in the series is the experience and the home court advantage that is Madison Square Garden. However, this series might come down to the wild cards. For the Pacers, the former Knick Obi Toppin is definitely their wild card, as he's going to be in store for a revenge series. Once they started to give him minutes, Toppin was lethal off the bench in the first round, able to run the floor, throwing down alley-oops and getting the Indy crowd hyped. Against Milwaukee, Obi was putting up 15 points a game on 54% shooting and knocking down his threes at a 34% clip. With Mitchell Robinson off the bench, who isn't very mobile, Toppin should take advantage of this matchup if Indiana can get out into transition consistently. For New York, as he was against the Sixers, Deuce McBride will be key if the Knicks are going to win this series. Running the backup point, he will guard TJ McConnell. This is crucial, as if he does a good job slowing him down, the Pacers bench unit will suffer as a result. When guarding McConnell, you've got to keep him out of the lane, and keep in mind that he's not a very good three-point shooter, so you might be able to get away with some dare shots from him. But once he gets into that lane, you've got to stay attached. If McBride can make a shot here and there, keeping the Pacers defense honest, that'll be a huge boost, giving Brunson more space to operate while keeping himself on the floor. The Knicks will require a good series from Deuce McBride, and I think they just might get it. When it comes down to making a prediction for this series, it's so tough. On paper, you look at the elite offense of the Indiana Pacers and the sluggish offense of the Knicks, while New York are also missing their second best player, and I'll say I'll take the Pacers in 6. But it simply isn't that straightforward, as I believe the lack of playoff experience and letting a Bucks team without Giannis take you to 6 games will allow the Knicks to win in 6 games. The Knicks can generate stops and scores whenever they need to, but I can't say the same for the Pacers. And as a result, I'll take the Knicks in this series. Who do you think wins this Knicks-Pacers series, and in how many games? Let me know in the comments below.